Would you be surprised if I told you that the Navy has credited you with over 160 kills? Do you ever think that you might have seen things or done some things over there that you wish you hadn't?
Oh, that's not me, no.
What's not you?
I was just protecting my guys. They were trying to kill our soldiers, and I'm willing to meet my creator and answer for every shot that I took. The thing that haunts me are all the guys that I couldn't save.
Clint Eastwood's American Sniper shattering records at the box office and becoming a cultural phenomenon. It's also fueling a nationwide debate about the legacy of the Iraq War and the troops who fought there. With me now, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois and Congressman Ruben Gallego, Democrat from Arizona. Both of these gentlemen, Iraq War veterans, and we thank you for your service. Sure. Congressman Kinzinger, what is it about this movie? I mean, this is making more of an impact, I would argue, than even The Hurt Locker or Lone Survivor, both extraordinary movies in their own right.
It's the most realistic movie I've seen in terms of, like, really bringing me back to Iraq, for instance. I saw it, and I just, you know, what really drew me into this movie was how you see Chris is very drawn to go back. That, like, I have to go, there's more I have to do, there's more I need to do. I've always felt that. In fact, there's not a day that goes by now where I don't think about it, and I don't, you know, you miss the brotherhood of it. You think about all the things you could have done. And it was fantastic. I mean, just quickly, I remember meeting with a veteran myself a few years ago, and he just said, and I said, you know, what's going through your mind? And he goes, I just want to go back. He had been injured, had 2 Purple Hearts, and he said, I left my brothers and sisters there. I want to go back. So it was the most realistic at just capturing that essence of what the Iraq War felt like. So that was great.
Congressman Gallego, I think the reason that it struck a chord with me is because the movie sparked a conversation not only about war, but geez, I don't know, 40, 50% of this movie is about family dynamics, PTSD. And I know you've been saying that the country needs that kind of a conversation to talk about the social, the familial dynamics of what we've asked of these men and women.
Well, I think one of the most important things to remember is that when we go to war, we are actually bringing our families with us. And sometimes in some dynamics, it's actually more difficult for our family members when we're at war than the actual soldier or Marine in combat, because we actually have full 100% knowledge. I mean, I heard some horror stories from my mom and my wife when we took some casualties in my platoon that didn't know whether I was dead or alive for a couple hours. And that the amount of trauma it caused them. And then the reintegration, you know, I certainly had problems when I got back, and there was a lot of other Marines that I served with that had problems coming back. And I think it's a good conversation we have to be having about everything we can do to make sure that these men and women that sacrifice months and sometimes years of their life have an opportunity to, you know, to accomplish the American dream like anybody else.
Congressman Kinzinger, this movie has also sparked a conversation about the role of snipers. How do non-snipers in the military regard their brethren who are snipers? How do they view that role?
They're amazing. You know, for years I've worn the name of Christopher Horton, who was killed in Pakji, Afghanistan, was a sniper. I've worn his name. They're fantastic people. I mean, keep in mind, so everybody that says, you know, when you hear somebody say that snipers are cowards, they're hiding behind, well, here's one that wasn't. Here's one that was killed. They all are brave men and women that have done a lot of hard work. So, look, they're the overlords. They're the folks protecting us. They're the folks that are protecting the guys on the ground from threats they don't see. It's essential. And for anybody that would attack a man or a woman in the military for the job they do, I mean, you see it in the movie, you know, where Chris has to do some things and he's not celebrating it. It obviously bothers him and it really gets to him, but he knows that he has to do that to save the lives of his brothers and sisters.
You're making reference, obviously, to Michael Moore, who sent an email to State of the Union, and to be fair to him, in part the email said, I said nothing of the film and certainly nothing about Chris Kyle in the message that I sent out. He also says this: there are only 2 movies about the Iraq War that have grossed over $100 million, mine and Clint's. Now that would be an interesting discussion to have. Congressman Gallego, do you want to add anything to the discussion on snipers?
Yes, you know, snipers are a totally different breed of man. I got to serve with a lot of snipers, and we unfortunately lost a lot of snipers, and I got to pull security for them once in a while, and they're just warriors. They're great warriors, and they're just a totally different breed of military person. And I think, you know, people that you know, are in the infantry combat arms will understand that. You know, they're awesome. They're great to have. But you know, they're entirely different from the door kickers like myself and a bunch of other guys. But they're great to have in combat with you.
Can I say something real quick?
Please.
Michael Moore.
Yeah.
Your movie is no comparison to American Sniper. I would never see Michael Moore's movie. An American Sniper talks about American heroism and heroes. And we all know his tweet was referring to this movie, even if he says I didn't have the name in there. Maybe it was just randomly something else. We're not that stupid.
Can I share with you? First of all, I want to say this: Chris Kyle's a patriot.
Absolutely.
I think Chris Kyle's a hero. I want to be clearly understood. Something that troubles me about this story is the need for embellishment. I don't know why, whether it's Jessica Lynch, whether it's the Tillman story, and I could rattle off a number of these instances where there's just a hell of an underlying story of American heroism. Nevertheless, something along the way seems to get blown out of proportion. Like in this guy's case, was he on the roof of the Superdome picking off looters? Apparently not. Did he kill two people who tried to steal his pickup truck? Apparently not. Then the Jesse Ventura aspect. I mean, say what you will about Ventura. Ventura served his country.
Yeah.
Why do we feel the need to make the story bigger?
I'm not sure, and those details, I don't know. I know that this seems to be a very accurate depiction of it, and this is great because America has been, sports figures are our heroes now, or
Right.
or singers or whatever. We need true Americans that are willing, and it's not even the fact of war. It's somebody that's willing to fight for and live for something beyond their own personal life. I'm going to tell you, the youth of America need examples like this. Even if you don't go to the military, it's the idea that life is about something bigger than you, and that's why I think this story resonates.
And Congressman Gallego, doesn't hurt to have Bradley Cooper, in the lead role, right? As Congressman Kinzinger says, we need more heroes like this, and it helps tell the story.
If I'm ever in a movie, I'd like to have somebody like Bradley Cooper or anybody tall, skinny, and good looking. But look, I think we have to remember Kyle was a human being.
Right.
And we're all human beings. We, as combat veterans, we do some amazing stuff, but at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and we get affected by the war, and our families get affected by the war. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we have to remember. War is something that truly is a traumatizing thing to a young man or a young woman, and no matter what we do, no matter what movie or book we write, it's always going to show that, and there's no way to deny that.
And maybe he's got the answer to my question, which is take a long, hard look at any one of us, and, there's going to be some stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you sit in the, it's like almost in some cases the fishing story, like the fish ends up getting bigger. But I'm not saying that's the case in his. I don't know the details. But look, all I know is an amazing hero and somebody we ought to really look up to. A great American.
And a terrific story. Thank both of you. I appreciate your service, both of you, and thank you so much for being here. Congressman Kinzinger, Congressman Gallego.